Welcome, welcome. It's nice to see all of you in person. There is a sign-up sheet that's going around, so if it passed where you were because you came in late, you'll have to find it later. Don't forget to sign in, please. This is who we are. Are you familiar? Yeah? Good. We have one new person joining us this morning, and he's thinking, what is this? So I want to welcome Carl. Carl, why don't you stand up? Give him a wave. Carl's we have two fiscal managers now, because Richard is still with us, and fiscal managers, we have two. And Carl has a long history in fiscal with Merced County, so we're really excited to have him join us. His last name is Stallhunt. Perfect. I practiced. Awesome. Welcome, Carl. It's National Public Health Week. Yay! Yay! That worked out. How many of you have been doing activities for National Public Health Week? How many of you knew it was National Public Health Week? Oh, good. Good. It's 30 years. And I just really want to, it was appropriate that we were all dancing this morning to celebrate us. Aren't we awesome? We are. And I just want to say, I know that there is a video. I don't think it's been sent out yet. Did it get sent out?
I've seen it on social media.
It's on social media. Well, no, there's one that's just for us. It's managers talking to all of you. And I just want to reiterate something you'll see in the video. And that is that I personally really love our work. I don't know if you have that feeling. Yeah, there are a lot of days in which it's like, wow, that was a hard day, right? That was really challenging. I faced something, it was really hard. We did it, but I always kind of hit the pillow every night thinking my work matters. It's really doing something for people. And I don't know if you have that sensibility about your work, because, I mean, we could be selling shoes or makeup or something like that, right? And instead, we're doing things that are literally saving people's lives. And that's amazing work. And so I'm so proud of the work that we do together. And I think a lot of the reason why I get excited about the work that I'm doing is because I'm doing it with such amazing people. And I appreciate all of you, and I'm proud of you. So happy National Public Health Week. We have 3 public health champions that will And so, can these 3 ladies join me in the front? I asked them to bring their plaque with them so you can see their plaque. And we're going to do a bit of a replay from the board meeting. Dr. Cole, you want to read them again?
No, it's good.
No, you won't. I sprung that on him last minute. All right, here's Laura. Laura was nominated for the 2025 Public Health Champion Award because of her outstanding dedication to public health and the community that she serves. Laura has several years of experience starting with and transitioning to Communicable Disease Division, where she's now a key member at the HIV/AIDS program. This program comes with immense emotional challenges. It really does. And Laura handles these with compassion, providing support to both clients and colleagues. She serves as a mentor to her colleagues, guiding through tough situations, and that was specifically cited by the individual who nominated her, and always offers some help and expertise. Laura is particularly committed to supporting our LGBTQ+ community, and many clients have expressed their gratitude for her care. Her work has saved lives, providing hope and preventing suicides among some of our most vulnerable clients. Isn't that amazing, preventing suicide? That's awesome. Laura's always willing to learn and grow, asking questions when uncertain, which further shows her commitment. She truly deserves recognition as a 2025 Public Health Champion for her dedication, compassion, and impact in public health. Congratulations. We're going to go over here. We're going to talk about Elsa. Yay, Elsa! Elsa! It was not lost on funny that like your hair is not quite as red.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Too much gray hair to cover with.
Oh no.
It's easier with
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Okay. Elsa is a supervising public health nurse for Children's Medical Services. She oversees 9 nursing staff within the division, which includes California Children's Services, Childhood-Led Prevention Program, Adult Protective Services, and Foster Care Program. She is also a faculty member at California State University, Fresno, teaching community health nursing for Fresno State Nursing Program. For many years, the department has collaborated with Fresno State to provide nursing students both practical and hands-on experience in public health. And many of you have met these many nursing students as they come through the department. Elsa's direct connection with teaching the nursing students has been key in growing the public health nursing, not only for Madera County Public Health, but for the entire Central Valley, because many of those nurses are in other places, not just in public health, but also in clinics and hospitals, but with a public health mindset, right? Key in her teaching is the social determinants of health and their impact on childhood trauma. Elsa also teaches the historic perspective of health and has her students engaged in the real world of community health by taking them into the community and having them work with outreach and community programs. Her compassion for teaching, educating, and training crosses over in all she does in the department. She really has a lot of passion for public health if you've interacted with Elsa. Here's a quote from Lori. Do you want to read it? Okay. Elsa never stops thinking about how we, as both the division and the department, can deliver services better. This is true. She continuously thinks about what is missing from our programs and what can be improved upon. She is passionate about all she does and brings her passion for public health nursing to the health department daily. Because of these reasons and Elsa's true public health nursing heart, she exemplifies what a public health champion demonstrates. Congratulations. Last but not least, Beverly. And wait, I'm ready for something else. Beverly is also retiring. At the end of this month, and Natalie's going to come up in just a little bit. She has some things to say too. But Beverly Borjas works as a public health education assistant in the maternal child adolescent health division, doing home visitation. And although Beverly started her public health career working in childhood health and disability programs and HIV, the bulk of Beverly's 30 plus years with the department has been serving and supporting the needs of parenting youth in the Adolescent Family Life Program. As a case manager, Beverly provides support and education to young parents to promote positive parenting, identify youth needs and interests, and offer support with accessing services, setting goals, and planning for the future. Cool. Beverly was a teen mom herself and knows the struggles and obstacles afforded young parents. She has worked tirelessly throughout her public health career to simply give back. Here are a couple quotes from her colleagues. I have known Beverly for over 25 years, and over the years, I've had the great pleasure to work alongside Beverly on various cases, as well as observe her in action. It is amazing. I've watched her educate young moms and dads and patiently give them the tools they need to not only build bonds with their children, but also to develop their strengths and skills to help them navigate life's challenges. Beverly has truly inspired me to become a better case manager and person. She is a role model to me. That's amazing. Second quote is, Beverly is compassionate, truly dedicated case manager who goes above and beyond to help families that she visits to find resources in the community and advocate for their needs. I know she's made a significant difference in the lives of countless young mothers. So we congratulate you as a public health champion and in your retirement.
Yes, thank you so much.
Graciela also come up because someone else is retiring. Wow, how cool. So someone in the front row actually had Beverly as a case manager. Oh, wow. Isn't that cool? And now working in public health. So cool, I love that. Okay, so these two ladies are retiring on the same day.
countless hours with the families in Madera. I started off as a public health ethicist with them right out of grad school in 1999. Beverly had been here a few more years prior to Graciela, and they were hired both in the Adolescent Family Life Program. So we have this office over at B Street, right next to this little Cotillas Mexican restaurant. It was all in Alicia, Diana, the ones that have been here just almost as long as them. Sophie was there too. She left and came back, but they've done so much work with the community. They do plenty of outreach. They've probably been asked to numerous birthday parties to be godparents to people. Our staff get that all the time. They always want to be involved in their lives. Of course, I have to set certain boundaries, but the words to describe them have already been described. They're passionate. They're dependable. You know, work was always almost number one for them. They, you know, did everything that the families in Madera couldn't ask for more. So it's going to be hard to fill their shoes, two at the same time, and they'll be greatly missed.
Congratulations on your retirement. Thank you, ladies, for coming up and letting us embarrass you. We do have one other retirement that's happening, but Sandra's not able to be here today. So when you see Sandra, would you please wish her the best? Her last day is the 5th of May, so it's not very long from now. And I do want you to hear just a little bit about Sandra, even though she's not here, so you can go up and say things that she has no idea you knew. Sandra began her journey with the health department in May of 2019, joining the CCS program as a nurse case manager. While Sandra was new to public health, she brought us her hospital background, caring for and educating patients and families who've experienced trauma. Sandra loves to teach. She is passionate about working with families and kids. She wants the best for each of them, including the provision of resources to improve their current situation, whatever that might be. In 2020, Sandra was able to use those same set of skills when she transitioned to a dual role as a public health nurse case manager for 2 programs in the division, the Child Health and Disabilities Prevention Program and the California Lead Prevention Program. As a nurse case manager, Sandra has been instrumental in educating parents and families of services and resources available through these programs. She's worked with providers through the City of Madera and Eastern Madera County, as well as partnering with our mobile outreach team to facilitate outreach and educate in the community. In addition to her work with these programs, she's been Children's Medical Services Representative for Culture Club, whoop, whoop, Culture Club. Families and those of us who have worked with Sandra throughout her time at the department have been fortunate to have been able to recipients of her passion, her huge heart and love for others. Congratulations, Sandra, on her retirement. And if you would wish her that when you see her next, that would be amazing. Fun times. And we're not done with the celebration. We have some birthdays between now and when we meet again. So if you are on this list, Elizabeth, Lourdes, Haley, Christy, Jerry, Diana, Joanna, Diego, Sandra, and Jesus, would you stand, please? Happy birthday! There's an announcement for Culture Club about raffle baskets. Come on up.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hi,
Good morning. Good morning. Alrighty, I will be talking a little bit about what's going on in Culture Club. So for our April activities, we did have the Sexual Assault Awareness Day was on the 1st. I wore teal. If anyone else wore teal, please send us pictures. We'd love to see you guys. We really miss not seeing you guys when we go. So we would genuinely love to get just a random picture, like, oh, you know, over here on the Gateway Street, like Gateway office. Be like, if you guys want to take a little group picture for us, we'd love to see you guys. With ladies, we would love to see you guys. So we also had Child Abuse Prevention Month. We celebrated that on the 5th. We have our scavenger hunt on the 23rd. on the 30th, we have our jean day. I don't know if you guys have came in through the lobby. Have you guys seen the jeans? Yes, yeah, go see that if you haven't seen it. And then of course, with this warm weather, we really encourage you guys to continue the step challenge as many times as you guys can go outside, enjoy the weather before it gets super, super hot. So we encourage you guys to do that. We also wanted to share our employee of the month in, where is he? Chris Jones. So I did want to let you guys know, Culture Club is staff funded. So every time you guys buy a raffle ticket, every time you guys, participate in the salsa competition or, buy some food from us, it does go back into our funds so that we can provide free food for hot dog day, we can do watermelon day, we can just do just things for us here, the decorations for the board, for our baskets. So if you guys, any dollar would help. If you guys would like to help out with that, let us know. We have our Culture Club members. If you guys want to raise your hands, we're here for you guys. Alrighty, so for our Mother's Day basket, we are taking donations. I believe up until the 23rd of this month. So if you guys want to donate anything to the Mother's Day baskets, we're gonna have a spa themed one, a baking themed one, and one for entertainment. So if you guys want to donate movie tickets, a dinner maybe to Chico's, or something in Fresno, something you guys would like to donate as well. So we are going to be doing fundraising for it as well. So if you guys would like to donate for the baskets, we'd like to do that. I'd like to encourage you guys to please donate, so that way we can get some really nice baskets for our Mother's Day. Also, if you guys have any ideas for Father's Day, you guys are more than welcome. Just message us, quick Teams message. We'd love to hear from you guys. I think that's it.
Great, those Mother's Day baskets will be raffled off. And they end up on the counter in the break room, but then there'll also be ability to enter the raffle on SharePoint, yeah?
Yes, correct.
Awesome. So there'll be pictures on SharePoint, and then you can win a basket that maybe you donated to.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. So, what's really key here is you donate what you want, and you put all your raffle tickets in. You can donate twice. Okay, so, some nuts and bolts. I want to talk just a little bit about county cars. We have a fleet of county cars, and Madera is an interesting place in that we're either driving an extremely short distance or we're driving a long distance. There are very few times in which we're driving a county car kind of a reasonable distance, like 15 miles or something like that. It's usually 2 or 30 or 300, right? If it's going to Sacramento or something like that. We have a fleet of cars that we own, and then we have 2 cars that are leased. The fleet of cars that we own have to get to 120 miles before they can be retired. Our oldest car is a 2004. It's not a favorite, as you might imagine. But the problem is that we cannot get the thing to 120,000 miles because we can't send it out of town. So it's like 2 miles here, 2 miles here, 2 miles here. And we have that across, we have several cars that are 2007s, and we frankly need to put the miles on the county cars. And then we have the 2 leased vehicles, and in order for us to actually financially have that make sense, but we signed the lease already, is we need to put 1,400 miles on each of those cars each month. We don't hit it. It's not working out. So this was a pilot. The county is trying to see, hey, will this work? But what we're discovering is it's really hard to hit that 1,400. So we tend to take those cars because they are newer, and we send them on the longer trips to LA. I go to Sacramento a fair bit, so that we can put those miles on those cars. We take those to Oakhurst on a regular basis because those are the higher miles. I say all of this because we have to have a certain number of county cars in order for us to have all the different people in the department have access to those cars for important things in which they need to be in a county car. Either they don't have a personal vehicle but they want to put the miles on, or they're doing some sensitive stuff in which they don't want their personal vehicle identified, if that makes sense. So we have to have a certain number of them, but that makes it all the more difficult in order to get the miles on them in an adequate period of time to get them retired before they are super old and dragging across the street. This is the dilemma. And the way that I'm solving the dilemma is, I've checked all of this out. I am going to make Any request to use a personal vehicle for work and request for mileage and reimbursement only approved on a case-by-case basis. It really needs to make sense. So if you are like just want to drive your personal vehicle for some reason, but there's not really a business reason for that to happen, then it's going to be on your own expense that you're doing that. And I would encourage you that you have an adequate insurance coverage. There is county insurance coverage, but the situations in which it's covered is kind of tricky, so make sure you have adequate coverage. County cars are available to you. Please use them. Because we have already invested in those, and so we're not going to also pay personal mileage unless there's a business reason to do so. Any questions about that? Okay. Many of you have been using Jabber, and the county, in its infinite wisdom, has decided to replace what is a fairly new system with a different one. Great. It works very similarly, but in a few weeks, that transition will happen. We will be doing training with divisions that are using Jabber on a regular basis so that you are familiar with the new system, which is called Cisco WebEx Calling. Okay? So be watching for invitations about training on that. Also wanted to give you a heads up, it's not on the list here, but Martha sent out an email. I got it about the new VPN system. Make sure you look for Martha's email and you're looking for what that new IP address is so that you're logging onto the correct VPN, because I think it's Friday, in which the old one, no more. So if you get to Friday and you forgot to do it, then you're gonna have to look back for Martha's email and figure out how to get it set up. Basically, it's just replacing it in a little box. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, I wanna remind you, our alarm is set between 10 p.m., 7 a.m. If you're going to enter the building between those times, you're gonna come in early, you're gonna stay late, please notify ops. We have had really a lot of people setting off the alarm in the middle of the night, and that usually means that Chris is either awake or he has to drive to the building. So please, 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 if you're gonna be here at an odd time, like you've got an event out of town, you're gonna prep early, please notify ops. Our construction begins April 22nd. That's when they're gonna roll in all of the trucks and all of the supplies, and it's going to begin. I promise it will happen. A long time. It will happen. It goes to the board on the 15th. The vendor is already purchasing the supplies to try and avoid tariffs. And please, please, if you are a praying person, God help us with the tariffs, right? With trying to remodel a building and build a new one. Any questions about construction? I think that we have given you lots and lots of information. We've talked with the managers. We are going to be giving updates as often as possible about what to expect with regards to noise levels at every part of the construction, so that you know what to expect and you can plan accordingly. However, as all projects are, unexpected things happen, and so then it might not go exactly as we expect, and there might be a day in which you thought you were going to be working here, but it happens to be super loud. So have an alternate plan, an alternate location, and you can work with your supervisor and your manager if that is not telework. There are other locations the operations has been working on identifying for people to be able to work in person, but not in this physical location. All right, and to that end, we're all doing a lot of telework these days, right? It's nice to see everybody in person, isn't it? I want to talk through some telework expectations, because as more and more of us have been going to telework, we've experienced some hiccups, and I want you to understand what the expectations are. The first is, there is a county telework policy. I will be emailing that to you today. I want you to read through it and understand what's in it and what the expectations are there. Some key expectations are that you are at your workstation at the work time and you're accessible, and that you are not providing care for dependents while you're teleworking. So what I want you to do, the first thing I want you to do is think about telework just like coming into the office. When you walk to your workstation in your home, you are on duty. So if you would not be taking care of your kids at the office, you're not taking care of your kids at home. If you notify your supervisor when you go on a break at the office, you notify your supervisor when you go break at home. So just think of it exactly the same way. If you would not come into the office because you're sick, then don't telework. You're sick. Rest, get better, come back when you're productive. So the first and most important thing about the county telework policy is that telework is not an entitlement. It is a privilege, and obviously it's really important to what it is that we have going on right now, but there are lots of locations in which we can have you work in person in the county, even if it's not in this building. And so it's really important that you're fulfilling the duties that you have, you're just in a different location. So at any time, you might be asked and required to come to an in-person location to fulfill duties. And that is not necessarily an indication of poor performance, it's just we need you to do something that happens to be an in-person function. And any one of you on any day could be asked to come in and work in person. We would try and schedule that with you, but there will be times in which you are notified and with a reasonable period of time you're able to come into the work location that you've been called to. I already talked about if you're sick, please rest, get better. It's really, really tempting to work sick at home. But the truth is that none of us work well when we're sick. And if you work through being sick, you're gonna be sick longer. So please take your sick leave, that's what it's for. Notify your supervisor just the same way as you would if you were coming into the office. It's important that you, just like you make plans for in-person, that you drive before 8 o'clock and you arrive and you're here at 8 o'clock. It's the same expectation at home. So if your time to start is 8 o'clock, then you are at your workstation with your computer on, you're logged in to VPN, all of those kinds of things, and you're ready to work at 8. You already don't have the drive, you don't have the gas to the drive, you already don't have to plan the bottom half of your wardrobe. But you do need to log in and really be ready by 8 o'clock. So make that coffee before 8 o'clock, have it ready to go, sitting at your workstation, okay? We need everyone's schedule on Outlook. I know many have not necessarily been used to working on Outlook, but you need to have your schedule on Outlook. Everyone in the department now cannot walk down the hall to find out if you happen to be at your desk. The way they know if you're available or not, or in a meeting or not, is by your Outlook calendar. So you need to get used to using your Outlook calendar to let everyone know what's going on with regards to your work duties and schedule. So if it changes, make sure you update it. You need to be monitoring your communication channels, whatever those channels are. So if your division is using Jabber now, Cisco WebEx calling, if your division uses Teams, if your division is using email, all of those things need to be open and you need to be monitoring them because that's how we're communicating. It's hard for us to stay connected when we're not seeing each other face to face. So we have all these tools to stay connected, but if you don't have them open and you're not paying attention to them, we can't come over and knock on your door. Well, we could, but we're not going to. But we might call you on the phone, we might call you on Teams, and use all of these methods also to get a hold of your supervisor, get a hold of your manager, get a hold of your colleagues. And I encourage you, I really encourage you, don't always just send the Teams message. Do a Teams call. It's really, for a sustained period of time, not healthy and not good for us to not actually use our voices and our faces and our bodies to communicate with one another. Don't become so isolated that it's all in chat, okay? I want to remind you of the requirements. Okay, so communication channels are open. And if you're available on your calendar, you need to respond within 10 minutes or less. So if you're not in a meeting, you're working on a document, needs to be open, Maybe you finish that email and that kind of stuff before you address the teams. But if somebody is sending you a message, you need to be responsive. Now, with regards to lunches and breaks, the same rules apply, whether you're teleworking or whether you're here. And so I just want to remind you what it says in the California law about lunch breaks. If you work more than 5 hours in a day, you must take a minimum of a 30-minute lunch break. This is the law, which must start before the end of the 5th hour. Okay, so if you're getting to 1 o'clock, you have to start your 30-minute, or an hour lunch break is better. But if you're gonna only take 30 minutes and you've talked with your supervisor, this has to be prearranged, how long your lunch break is, then you have to start it by 1 o'clock if you started at 8. If you started at 7:30, you gotta start your lunch break by 12:30, you got it. Now, if your total workday is 6 hours or less, because you have a doctor's appointment or whatever it is, your lunch break can be waived by mutual consent of you and your supervisor, but you need to initiate that. And many people would choose to do something like that if they, have a doctor's appointment in the afternoon. They work the 6 hours and they don't have to fumble with lunches and that kind of stuff, and they can get to their appointment. But that's your choice, how you want to manage that. So you talk to your supervisor about how you do that, but you cannot go beyond that 6 hour mark. Any questions? You must take a lunch by law. Now, your breaks, your 15-minute breaks in the morning and the afternoon, they cannot be combined. You have to take 2 separate breaks, and they are not required by law. You are entitled to 2 breaks. We encourage you, please take a break. Take a break from your work, step away from your workstation, take a walk around the block, re-energize. Sometimes I'll take a short 10-minute nap. Can any of you do that? Sometimes it's magical, you hit that afternoon, but you set the timer, right? Because you've got 15 minutes. So when you are on your break, you need to put on your calendar that you're on your break. So you update, you put it on there, and then everybody knows you're on your break. And so then if you don't respond to that team's message, we know what's going on. And also it demonstrates that you're taking your breaks. Good job. So you don't have to have those pre-planned. If you're ready for a break and you're able to do that because of your schedule, you can just add it to your calendar at that time. Okay, here's the one that I'm prepared. I'm prepared for people to go, oh, and here is the reason. If you're gonna telework all the time, if we're gonna have teams that are constantly separated by the virtual space, it is an expectation that you have a working camera and you turn it on. We're going to be talking a lot today about conversations and the importance of conversations in just a little bit. And so much of our conversations are body language. It's facial expressions. We have people on our team that there was a new supervisor and that they had never seen their employee before, and it had been weeks because the camera was never turned on. We have to be able to see one another and experience one another. So it is an expectation that you have a working camera and that you're turning it on and you're using it. Okay. Think about your tasks for the day and dress appropriately from the waist up, please. The good litmus test is, if I were to have this meeting in person and I were to show up in person, is this the raggedy t-shirt I would wear, or would I put on something that looked a little bit nicer? So whatever you would normally wear to an in-person meeting, that's what you're wanting to wear from the waist up based on what your meetings are. Now, if your internal team is super casual and the only thing you're going to be doing is working at your desk and having a Teams chat now and then with your colleagues, wear the Scooby-Doo t-shirt. I don't care. But if it's going to be with partners, then you need to wear the other top with those yoga pants. Okay? Any questions about telework expectations? We're going to put this in writing so that you understand and it's clear. If you have any concerns, please share them and we'll talk through those. I just want to address real quickly with Teams channels. It's been super fun, right? That everybody's been talking on the DPH channel. I like it. I really like that connection. I like people sharing pictures. I like the camaraderie. That is awesome. One thing I just want to have you do is think about who is the message for, and if it's not for 130 people, but it's really for 5, the 5 you work with, put together a different chat with just those 5 people. Sound good? Because, maybe you want to share your Scooby-Doo t-shirt picture with the whole team. Maybe you just want to share it with your personal team. Up to you. Okay, so here is the first image I came across when I was doing the PowerPoint for today for National Public Health. It says health, what's the word?
Equity.
Equity starts here. You may have noticed that the word equity is kind of problematic right now in our country. Folks are struggling with this word. And it's not a word that many people in our country, in our community even, really like. And I believe that it's largely because people don't understand what it means. And so it started a conversation among the managers, among the executive. We talked to the executive team, we talked about the managers meeting, and we really hashed it through, talked about the word equity. And here are some of the things that we discovered as we talked about it. Most people who don't work in public health, and maybe even a lot of people who do work in public health, don't really understand what equity means. And every time we use it, we have to explain it. We have to define it. And it kind of makes you wonder, is it worth it if we constantly are having to explain what we mean just to use a vocabulary word? Now, I want to say equity is super important. We've talked a lot about equity. We've talked about what it means. And we do equity work. Much of it is embedded in the grants that we have, in the mission that we have, because public health, this is the analogy I've been using a lot with folks, is it's like one big boat. Everybody's on the boat. You may not want to be on the boat. You may not see yourself on the boat, but everybody, whether they like it or not, we're all in the same boat. We're in the same population. And my health impacts the health of the other people on the boat because of the business that I open, because of the food that I bring and I put in the break room, because of whether or not I visit the emergency room when I really should go to urgent care, whether I haven't cared for my chronic illness and so I'm in and out of the emergency room all the time instead of going and seeing my primary care provider and getting preventative care. Now, many of those things, I'm not villainizing any of those. As individuals, we have these things that happen, and many people don't have resources to be able to care for their chronic condition, right? And that affects the boat. They don't have a pharmacy nearby. They're afraid to go to the pharmacy because there was an active shooter at the pharmacy, right? These things we don't all control. But it impacts our decisions and it impacts the environment. I imagine there are people who are very scared to fill their prescription right now, right? So if they don't fill their prescription, then they're going to end up at the ER. Is that their fault? I don't know. But they're going to end up at the ER, and if they're at the ER before I show up, I'm in line. So we're all in the same boat, whether we like it or not. The effect of one person, the effect of one piece of the system affects all of us. And in public health, our job is to identify what are the buoys that lift the boat, what are the weights that pull the boat down. And we all rise, we all fall together. And we're trying to take the weights off the boat so that we can all rise together. That's equity, right? Everybody having that common impact. But individual people on the boat have different experiences and have different needs, and that's what equity is about. And we're doing that work all the time, whether we use the word equity or not. And we'll continue to use the word equity inside our department. But one of the things that we unpacked was, specifically in Spanish, there's no real good word to translate equity. And our Spanish-speaking population really does not understand when we try and use the word for equity in Spanish. And ironically, it is inequitable for Spanish language folks for us to insist on using the word equity. Right? Because they're not understanding, they're not tracking with what it is that we're talking about, so they don't have the same opportunity to understand what we really mean. The other thing is that we want as many people to understand we're on the same boat, to want to be on the same boat with us, and to really understand why public health is important. And if I use the word equity, and it shuts down somebody else's ability to really hear the rest of what it is I'm saying, I've lost. I've lost. Even if it's just based on a misunderstanding and it's not my fault, I've still alienated that person. And what we want to do, no matter how they voted, no matter how healthy or not they are, we want everybody to get on the boat, to see themselves on the boat together. Because I don't care how people voted when I am thinking about whether or not they're healthy. I want everybody to be healthy. So what we have decided to do with regards to looking at our values and our culture, which we talked about last time, is this is our current set of values. It includes equity. This is what it looks like unpacked. The definition of equity is we actively seek to understand and reduce barriers to optimal health for all. And there are 3 bullets that are underneath there that detail the I statements of how we individually operate equitably in our culture. But here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna replace the word equity with the word opportunity in our public messaging for all the reasons I've described. We really talked this through, we really vetted it, we talked about what the implications were, and again, many of our reports will still use the word equity. Many of our grants will still use the word equity. We can use equity as a shorthand term, but one of the things that we also discovered is that using the word equity has made us kind of lazy. Because it's this one word where we can quickly sum up this very complex concept instead of taking the time to really be more descriptive about what it is that we're doing and what we need. So we went to our public health champions who have worked with us for a long time, and they're familiar with the word equity, and they agreed that using the word opportunity in the community was going to be more effective in helping people understand what we're truly trying to do. The definition does not change. We actively seek to understand and reduce barriers to optimal health to all. The goal has not changed. We still, I treat every person with honor, dignity, and empathy, including myself. We have updated the second bullet to, I understand the drivers of health, because social determinants of health has also become a term that is difficult for some folks, and proactively identify disparities. And then the third bullet, I work to establish accessible services, fair policies, and positive outcomes for all. So that's what it looks like. Any questions? Here's the updated. Pass it around. I understand in this environment, there might be some concerns that you have that you don't want to discuss in a big, broad group, and that's okay. Come and chat with me, talk with your manager, and we are interested in your thoughts and your feelings about this. Ultimately, the goal is we don't want to alienate folks, we want to pull them in. That's the goal. So here's what it looks like now. Okay. What time do we end today? Thank you. Someone remind me. 10? Okay, we got an hour. Awesome. Here's the handout for our training. Does everybody have a handout? Or is it still going around? Still going around. Okay. I know there are some folks that sit down. Raise your hand if you have not received the sign-in sheets. Okay, raise your hand if you have the sign-in sheet. You have the sign-in sheet? It's coming around. It's still coming around. Okay, keep it moving. Keep it moving. Raise your hand if you have received Crucial Conversations training. Okay, put those down. Raise your hand if you are scheduled to receive Crucial Conversations training.
Don't get me in trouble.
Okay. I don't want you to feel nervous if you're in either group. Either this will be a refresher or a really nice intro. Doesn't matter. But can anybody tell me, from those who received the training already, what are the 3 elements of a crucial conversation? How do you know if you're in a crucial conversation? There's 3 things.
The stakes are high.
Stakes are high. Ding, ding, ding. What's the next one? Yeah, what's the other one? Because in the order I thought. You can be the third.
Strong opinions.
Strong opinions. Good job. And then I heard strong emotions. These are the things. It's the trifecta. That means congratulations, you have a crucial conversation. One of the things that we've been talking, I've had a couple conversations about, is what if the stakes aren't high? What if you've got strong opinions and strong emotions? And who are we kidding? In our culture right now, I don't know about you, but I feel like my emotions are running strong pretty much all the time. Do you feel it? Like we're just supercharged all the time. And so then when we see a differing opinion or a strong opinion, oftentimes our emotion, it peaks faster and earlier. But it might be about something that actually is not that important. This happens a lot with spouses, yes? Okay, not important. I don't care if the fork is upside down or right side up, but man, it really matters to me when I poke my hand at the fork. So, what we've got then is conversation. And I think sometimes we go, oh, well, it's not really an important topic, so I don't need to have a conversation. I'll just let it go. But the problem is you still got opposing opinions and strong emotions, and that affects the relationship. So what I'm going to talk about is, what do we do to have real-time conversations to solve problems as a team? It's not necessarily high stakes. It could turn into something high stakes. Maybe it is a high stakes, maybe it's a crucial conversation. That's okay too, but how can we start doing this more real time? Because for those of you who have done the training, it's maybe been a little while since you did the detailed training, and frankly, it got a lot of tools. You have these? Do you have your learner guide? Do you know where it is? Is it in dust and mothballs? Maybe pull it out, because there's some cool tools. They get into a little bit more nitty gritty, but I thought today, let's spend a few minutes just talking about like, what's the most important step, 1, 2, 3, to having a conversation so that you can work together to solve problems as a team. Let's just talk about the simple part. So the first step, step number 1, you've got your handout, ready? Notice. These are really like basic stuff. We're gonna notice. There's 2 things to notice here, obviously. Strong emotions and strong opinions. I don't know about you, but I notice one of them first before I notice the other. I start to feel irritated. Yeah? Well, we gotta notice and have our brain go, oh, I should have a conversation about this, and not just continue to be irritated and stay in the issue irritated. The other thing that you could notice is someone getting, and you could be yourself, bigger or smaller. So we talk about silence and verbal violence, but getting bigger and getting smaller is a little bit easier for me to remember, frankly, because I can imagine I see somebody shrinking back, they're shutting down, they're avoiding me, they're trying to move on, they're avoiding the topic. People go glassy-eyed and they're just like frozen and they stop talking, they stop engaging. That's getting smaller. Yeah, and many people have a profile, right? I personally sometimes get smaller and sometimes get bigger. It just kind of depends on the situation and usually the person that I'm interacting with. Other people get bigger. They talk more, they talk louder, they might speak in a condescending way. Another way of getting smaller is joking. That happens a lot. It means they're kind of avoiding the topic. They're uncomfortable. That's a way of avoiding as well. So step 1 is just to like see the signals and recognize like, oh, I need to have a conversation or even a crucial conversation depending on if it's high stakes. Pretty simple. Not really. Not really. And I'm going to share an example at the end of you of a recent situation in which like I didn't notice until I was preparing this presentation and the conversation was 2 days ago. So noticing is something that if you can do it real time, it's a skill, but none of us are going to be perfect at it. Now, step number 2, name what's happening. This is one where the goal is you're literally stepping out of the conversation about the issue. And you're going over here and you're saying, this is happening. And you're talking about the other conversation as a separate thing. I don't know if that's helpful for you, but in crucial conversations training, we actually talk about like step out of the conversation and address like what's happening in the conversation, in the dialogue. So here's what it might look like. I'm feeling frustrated, and I think you're feeling frustrated too. It's clear we see this differently. I can see that your perspective really differs from mine, and we both really feel strongly about this. These are examples. It can look, it can sound any old way, but the important point is to just basically like talk about, we have opinions, and we're feeling things. And you can describe that any way you want to. And so what I want you to do is turn, step out of the issue. You're gonna just turn to somebody who's sitting next to you, and I want you to practice. What does it sound like for you to say what's happening? We see this differently. I feel strongly about this. So take turns, each person is just gonna say that. You stepped out of the issue. We're not going very far here because we just see this so differently, and I'm starting to feel frustrated. Are you frustrated? Like, there are a million ways this can look, so I just want you to hear your voice doing it. So fine, turn to your neighbor, and each of you try it. How did it feel? Okay, so there's a reason why I wanted you to practice, because you see Sarah up here doing it, and it's like, oh yeah, I can do that. But then when you come to that moment, and especially when your emotions are already high, then you're like, okay. So the important part about this step in particular is don't overcomplicate it. Don't make it so complicated. Like, you know, the sky is blue, the sky is green. No, the sky is blue, the sky is green. Like, okay, I mean, we really don't agree here, and I'm starting to get frustrated. Are you feeling frustrated? It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. In fact, the shorter it is, it might actually be easier, but a way of just like hitting the pause button. Pause, instead of us continuing to like spin, we just pause and step out, and that's when you just like, in your mind, imagine yourself stepping out of that into a separate conversation about how we work together. And so that first statement is just say what's happening. That's the pause button. Okay? Just put that in your notes. Saying what's happening is hitting pause. Okay. Step 3. This is a 3-step thing. We're already on step 3. See how easy this is? Like, you're like, I don't like how I feel. Pause. This is not cool. We see it differently. I'm frustrated. Now you're going to say what you want. Here's where it takes some like, how am I going to show up as my best self? We're going to peel the onion of getting to what we really, really want. Here's what shows up first. I'm going to get my way. The sky is green. I want it to be green. You can't talk me out of it. I am going to get my way. And when I get my way, I win. That might be one layer under, but I get to save face. And you get to be wrong. And I might even have some retaliation because I won this time. And you won last time. I'm bitter. These are lower motives, right? They are the motives that happen the most often. And I will describe to you my lower motive in my example at the end. I know you're riveted by this example. You can't wait to hear how I failed miserably. But here are the lower motives. Big hint is that really, you would not be in this profession if you only operated in those lower motives. You just would not. So I know that all of us really want a good outcome, even if it means we're wrong. And we want a good relationship because, frankly, I'm going to have to come back and see your mug every day. Right? And we're going to have to do this dance of green and blue over and over again. And maybe if we can sort out how to do this well, we're just not going to spin on green and blue all the time. That would be amazing. And that is a real motive to communicate with the other person. Is, you know, we work together all the time. I really want to solve this problem with you. I want to come to a good outcome, and I'd like for us to do it in such a way that we each feel heard, that you understand why I feel so strongly about this, and I actually am very interested in understanding why you feel strongly about this. Like, I know it might take a little bit, but I'd like to understand. So you're gonna say what you want, and what I just said there is an example. It does, again, don't overcomplicate it. Here are written examples. I really wanna find some common ground here. I think if we work together, we can come up with a solution that works for both of us. I'm gonna have a handout that has these on them, so you don't have to write all these down. But, you know, if there's one you really, really like, right? I want us to both feel heard, and to really understand one another's perspective, so that we can find some common ground. So it's about outcome, relationship, those two things. I see that this is really important to you. It's really important to me too. So let's take turns, to really listen to one another, to understand why. And then maybe we can find something that we have in common. Does that sound good? Okay. You have a lot of experience with this, and I really want to understand your perspective. And I'd also like you to understand mine. So if you could, you know, listen and hear where I'm really coming from, then I think we can solve this problem together. You notice I didn't even read that verbatim? It doesn't have to be exactly this. So, step one, you notice that you need to have a conversation. I am feeling frustrated. We're really seeing this differently. Are you feeling frustrated too? What I really want out of this conversation is us to work together to solve this together. But I think we're gonna have to take a minute and really listen and understand why we feel so strongly about this. So I'm gonna let you go first. Tell me why you hold this opinion so strongly. Help me understand. I just did the whole thing. Easy. Easy? Maybe? But it really is. It's simple, but not easy. Okay? So this is what I hoped to give you today, is something that was simple enough to remember, and then you'll need to practice. So in the spirit of practice, you're gonna turn to your same neighbor and put it all together. So I'll put the list together for you there, and you've got it on your thing. But I want you to, again, practice. What does it look like to say step 2 and step 3? Okay. How did it feel? Good. Okay. It's simple. It's not necessarily easy. But once you've done it once or twice, it does become easier, right? Okay. Why do we want to do this? I think that's the big question. Obviously, we have the goal of trying to solve problems together and have our relationships, but in terms of a process, why do we need to pause and step out of the conversation? We need safety in order for a real dialogue to happen. That's ultimately why we do the 1, 2, 3. Is by saying and acknowledging what's happening, like elephant in the room, this is what's going on. And then when you communicate what you really want, and it's not something like, I want you to be wrong, I want you to go down. Instead it's, I really want us to do this well, and I'm interested in what you have to say. That creates safety for the other person to be like, okay, yeah, I want that too. Let's try this out. And then you can start to have real dialogue, because before then, you're just like, no, it's green, no, it's blue. And you fight, and you have your perspective, and you stick with it, because you're gonna win. But then when you can hit pause, and you can create that safety by doing 1, 2, 3, then you have the opportunity to fill the pool of meaning. That's a fancy term for you get to share everything you think and how you feel, and that person gets to share how they think and how they feel. You have not succeeded in this process if you are the only person filling the pool. So if you're trying to fill the pool first, and your water, that green water, is gonna fill the pool, and then it's done, then you're not really in a conversation. You're not having a dialogue with that other person. You've gone to the outer layers of the onion again, and you need to actually go to the middle where you really care about hearing what's coming from that other person. So that's the goal. Now, what if you started and you're filling the pool, and then the pool starts leaking because you lost your safety? They start getting bigger or smaller, or you start getting bigger or smaller again. Guess what you do? Can anyone guess? Yeah, 1, 2, 3. You're noticing that somebody's getting bigger or smaller, and you repeat steps 2 and 3, even if it sounds redundant. Like, okay, I can feel us starting to entrench in our views. We're getting frustrated again. I need to remind myself, and I need to remind you, like, hey, what are we trying to do here? We're really trying to hear one another, understand, and come to an agreement. Let's get back to that, because that sounds good. And you reestablish the safety. You're not going to reestablish safety by not, like, noticing and saying what's going on, like that safety has been lost. You need to go back through 1, 2, 3. So if anytime somebody's getting bigger or smaller, even if you have tried 1, 2, 3, you can always do 1, 2, 3 again, and it works. It works really well. So you say what you really want. Don't rush to the solutions. When you rush to the solutions, usually the pool's not filled yet. And it happens because we're a very solution-oriented and time-bound group of people. We got stuff to do, I need to solve this problem, and I need to move on, and yeah, the pool is half filled, but good enough, we found a solution, let's keep trucking. Well, what if the solution was reached, but that person doesn't really like it, and actually they're getting smaller, and they're just like, fine, we'll just do it that way. Did you really do it well? Or is it gonna crop its head later? It's gonna come up later when that person is really not happy with the solution. Maybe they're dragging their feet on the solution because they just concaved. They didn't really believe you that you wanted to hear them completely because you didn't get curious and ask more questions and let them completely fill the pool. So you look for clues about maybe half information, or maybe they say a sentence and you think you understand, but you need some clarification. Ask clarifying questions. Fill the pool of meaning. You're not filling the pool with words. You're filling it with meaning, which means they may have said something and you're like, okay, I listened, but you didn't really understand. Take the time to understand, because meaning is meaning, not just words. This is where it comes to telling your facts and telling your story. I've come to realize in the last couple months, through a couple different conversations, there are some misunderstandings having resulted from the Crucial Conversations training. And I want to address those with regards to specifically the idea of telling yourself a story. I think that folks have come to a false belief that stories are bad. Having a story is bad. Telling yourself a story is bad. And sometimes that has resulted because there are folks who are like, well, you're just telling yourself a story. And the terminology has kind of been weaponized to a certain degree. Instead of, okay, I hear that you have a certain understanding of what happened, and I understand that's really the story that has made sense to you. Can I give you a little bit more information to fill out your story? There's a different way of using the language. Telling yourself a story is not bad. Everybody, all the time, is telling themselves a story, because all that terminology means, and if you don't like that terminology, don't use it. It's fine. You don't have to say, I'm telling myself a story. That you can describe it any way you want to. In fact, what it is I'm making meaning of the facts that have come my way. So there are facts that we're gonna get. Facts are things that you can perceive with your senses. You saw it. Factually, the person walked into the room and they laid the paper down and it made a loud noise, right? I heard it, I saw it. Why they walked in and laid it down hard and it made a loud noise? It's because they're mad at me. It's because they're in a bad mood again. It's because the baby kept them up all night again, right? All of that is not what you saw and heard. What you saw and heard is the person walked in the room and it made a loud noise when they put their stuff down. Those are the facts. So what we need to do is we need to recognize that we're all going to tell ourselves a story based on our past experience and the context that we have. Because when my mom walked in the room when I was little and she came in and she did this, I was in trouble. So now when someone else comes in and does this, I immediately think, the papers are going flying and I'm in trouble, right? These are the things that happen, and they happen like that. It doesn't make you a bad person that you have a story. It means that you are a cognitively present person who is making meaning of the facts and the information that's coming to you, right? So we don't accuse another person of having a story. Of course they have a story. If I am the person who walks in the room and I slam down my information, is it fair to expect that someone else is not going to see that and hear that and then have some interpretation? Of course they're going to have an interpretation. It may not be the right one. That's okay. That's what being human is all about. That's why we have these conversations, to sort out what's really happening, what's really going on. We need to get curious about whether or not our story is true. So we tell our fact and we tell our story. So it might look like this. I noticed when you came in this morning, after you give them a minute, right? Notice when you came in this morning that you set your notepad down really loud right before the meeting. And it makes me wonder, because of the conversation that we had yesterday, if you're still upset with me. Makes me wonder, right? I'm telling my story. It is a story. It is the thing that I'm interpreting. But I'm also leaving the opportunity for the other person to be able to be like, oh no, the baby kept me up all night. I'm so exhausted. I'm not upset with you at all. There you go. Or, yeah, I am. I'm still frustrated from yesterday. And I know we need to do this meeting, but I'd like to work through this meeting in a productive way, and then maybe we can talk about it after. But what you did is you said, I noticed this is what happened, and this is how it's affecting me. And I think that it's actually really important for other people to know we have a story. So if you always say, well, I noticed that you put your notepad down really loud, and I wonder what's going on, they might not understand that actually that affects me. So maybe next time they should take some care if somebody else is in the room and set it down instead of slam it down, because it actually affects the anxiety level of other people in the room. The only way they're gonna know that it affects other people is if you tell the story. If you say, you know, that made me really nervous because of the conversation we had yesterday and I thought we resolved it, but I'm wondering now, are you still upset? Now that you've had more time to think about it? Then they can be like, oh, awareness, right? What I do affects other people, and this is how it is affecting other people. And then as you're working with that person, you can find out, wow, their mom was a real piece of work, because every third thing I do triggers them about their mom's behavior, right? And you don't have to share about your mom, but you can say, like, when that happened, it really raised my anxiety level, because when I was a kid, there was a lot of that happened at home. So we can get to know one another. You can divulge as much or as little as is appropriate and you feel comfortable with. But it is important for us to own our story and to be able to communicate our story. This is how it's affecting me when that happened. And you don't villainize what happened, you tell the fact. This is what I observed, I noticed this is how it's affecting me. That is one of the biggest aspects of filling the pool of meaning. When you have a high stakes conversation, or you have the ability to come back to it later or something like that, you might have the ability to unpack that a little bit and be like, what was the story I was telling myself? I wonder why that was happening. And that's positive, but even in the moment, you could be like, okay, I'm feeling nervous, or I'm feeling uneasy about this. There are words that are fairly neutral that you could just express the feeling that you're feeling. That is your story. And it is important to share. It's important to own. It doesn't make you a bad person, it makes you a real person. We all have them, and we need to talk about them. All right, so we have these conversations, and the goal is to have them as real time as possible and as appropriate. There are going to be times in which it's not appropriate, like maybe it happens and it's in a big group of people and it's not the time and place. But don't let it go a really long time. Have the conversation as soon as you have an opportunity to be able to have it in an appropriate place with that person. Because when you let it linger, it gets more and more uncomfortable to have it then, right? Because you're like, you're coming back to me a week later. Couldn't you have, at least teamed me and figured it out? With your camera on? Right? What if you miss it real time? What does it look like? Well, now I'm going to tell you, I'm going to divulge. Dr. Paul could probably figure out what this one was. Malia can figure out what this one was. They were both there. A couple other people were in the room. We had a meeting with a partner we haven't worked with before in the past. This individual it became very clear really fast that they did not know about public health. They don't know about our history. They don't know about our expertise. And there are certain functions that this person does that we also do. And they really frustrated me because there were no questions about what we knew, what we brought to the table. They clearly assumed they were the ones that has all the expertise in that particular area. I was like, I think people in the room knew I was really irritated. And we managed to work through the topic, and we educated this individual a little bit at a time as the meeting went on. But afterwards, I didn't have a conversation with them. I went and talked about it with Dr. Paul, or texted that night. Can you believe this person? The next day I hashed out with Amalia, can you believe that? And we just really commiserated. So we were all frustrated. Doesn't really help the relationship with that person, does it? And I think if I had recognized and noticed earlier how irritated I was, and if I had named to myself, because it was not an appropriate time to actually have the 1, 2, 3 with that individual person, but I probably could have calmed down more in the moment, and it probably would have been more effective in terms of the conversation. There was a little bit of education that happened. It wasn't a completely bombed meeting, but as I was doing this, I was like, I actually need to reach out and have coffee with that person. I need to do that. And it's a little bit of pride swallowing, because point in fact, my story is, I think, fairly accurate. It doesn't even matter if your story is 100% true. If it's fueling your emotion, you probably need to talk to that person about your story. I was frustrated because when you came to the meeting, you didn't demonstrate any curiosity about what we do and the expertise we brought to the table. And so there were a lot of times in which we felt like you were speaking to us in a condescending way. And it didn't feel good. And I want to have a good relationship with you moving forward. So I scheduled coffee so that we could talk that through, and I could also introduce you to the expertise and the background that we have. I haven't scheduled the coffee yet. Haven't yet. Partly because I realized this at 6 o'clock when I was doing this presentation. So it I haven't really had the opportunity, not yet. But I'm going to, because first of all, you know, if one of our values is integrity and I'm gonna teach you this stuff, I better be doing it myself, right? And I also need to demonstrate, when I say everybody has a story, everybody does this, everybody doesn't do it perfectly, me. So I'm teaching you these things and I'm learning them myself. And when I ask you to practice, I'm asking myself to practice. Because none of us is gonna be perfect at it. None of us is gonna do it perfectly. Most of us are not gonna notice it real time. We're gonna notice it later. Maybe not when we're preparing a presentation to teach it to everybody else, like as if we know everything. But you can do it. And it might mean swallowing your pride a little bit, but then demonstrating our culture of honor. Because we are supposed to be, we've made a commitment to honor the people around us by having integrity, by demonstrating collaboration, by serving other people, and by doing some of the like not easy but can be simple things to try and really have good relationships with one another and get to better outcomes. I want to have good outcomes with that person. They are not going away. We are going to continue to work with that person. The meeting as we left it is not a great foundation for us to have a long, really good relationship with that individual. So it's on me, because I'm the one who noticed. If you're the one who noticed, it's your responsibility to follow up with saying what's happening, saying what you really want, and doing some of the scary business of having the conversation. If they're not noticing, it's still your responsibility. You noticed, right? So, I'm gonna have you turn to a partner one more time. And I'd like you to pick a situation like mine, in which now as you've been listening to this, like, yeah, I was upset with that person. And I maybe should have a conversation with them about it. And then try on steps 1, 2, 3 for a specific situation, and do not spend 5 whole minutes talking about the situation. Summarize the situation in 1 sentence. My husband and I argued about loading the dishwasher last night. And then practice, right? The purpose is to practice, not to divulge. Just give them a basic scenario and then practice again. Sound good? Okay. I hope this was helpful to you. Just to clarify, I actually have never had an argument with my husband about the dishwasher. We argue about other stuff. Usually about his mumbling and whether or not I've actually heard him. That's what You know, it's lovely out. It's gorgeous. Use the trail. Here's the code to the staff patio. You might need to take paper towel, dust and stuff off, but we do have a patio you can use until construction starts.
Actually, no, we don't.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry, you're mumbling. I can't hear you.
The staff patio furniture has been removed.
Oh, never mind.
Bring your
I
own
have a
furniture.
dream. The dream is that there will be a door from inside the building out to the patio. You will not need a code to get there, although if you come from the outside, there will still be a code. But that will happen when we come back. In about a year, we'll have that patio and it'll be awesome. Save the date. We are, today is the 10th. The next one is the 18th. Mark the count, it's already on your calendar. I did move the 18th, the December 18th meeting to the 11th because if you recall, last time we had a whole bunch of people on vacation, and I want you to be able to enjoy the meeting and the potluck next time. See you May 8th virtually. Thanks.